Post-Punk Podcast with Colin and Olga. This is episode 6, is it not?
It is. Wow. We are getting up there.
All right. Why don't we have you, Olga, do the introductions?
Yeah, we are two friends. We like music. We like talking about music. We have opinions about things. And that's what this podcast is kind of about.
And we've been in the scene for 20 years in various journalistic functions.
Various functions.
And then we got our punk band. Moving into June.
Yep.
What is going on in the news?
Wow, I can't believe it's June. This has been the longest year ever. Let's see. So in the news, we watched Punk Rock Bowling live streams last week. That happened last weekend, about a week ago for us. What did you think about that?
Oh, man. I thought so much. First of all, the bands were playing for free. So I have to temper my expectations built on it didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
We did it for 2 days. We watched a session on the first day, and then we watched another one the next day. So it was so the first time we watched it, we didn't know what we were getting into.
Yeah.
This was all new for us. And what it turned out to be was the bands were playing one song, and there was 5 bands, and they had sessions throughout the. Yeah, it's true. Some of them too. Mm-hmm. So they would have sessions throughout the day every 2 hours, but each session was only 15 minutes. So I thought the format was insane to me.
Yep.
At the time. I thought you have a 2-hour window to do something. You shrunk it down to 15 minutes. And then, okay, I'm going to go back and look at who we were looking at that first day. And it was here. Let's see. Session 1 was Dune Rats, Decent Criminal, Bomb Pops, Leftover Crack, and Bouncing Souls. So I wasn't really familiar with Dune Rats in the first place. I still don't remember what happened. Decent Criminal, I don't remember them either. Bomb Pops was the first one that a band.
Yeah.
They played one song, and it's interesting to see what bands will do. And this is the part that I did like, was bands had an opportunity to basically do whatever they wanted to do for this 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You could do a medium production, full band, full song, pre-recorded, lip sync type thing. You could do a single person acoustic something. You could do some sort of mix in between. You could do a Zoom meeting where each band member is in a little corner. Mm-hmm. And I believe the Bomb Pops, they tried really hard to make it as professional as possible, as I recall.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, compared to doing nothing, it was like watching a music video. And I thought that was
very
fine.
Low budget.
Yeah, it was like a low budget music video. That didn't really pull me in on the engagement like we saw later. Like Riverboat Gamblers, they did more of the Zoom style. Every band member was there in a little corner.
Yeah.
I don't know. Since I'm sitting there I'm in a Zoom meeting with 2 of my friends. We're watching.
Yeah.
And then, I already skipped on to day 2. Well, Riverboat Gamblers, they're doing the same thing I'm doing. I felt like we're all on the same page here. They're in a Zoom meeting playing their song. I'm in a Zoom meeting watching. I'm not talking to them directly, but this is a live thing, supposedly, of what they're doing. Yeah. And I thought there is some sort of connection. This does work for me.
Yeah.
And I'll stop there. And where are you at?
Yeah, I thought the format was terrible. I think what they should have done is they should have either done it a one-day thing. I know they wanted to make it a weekend because a lot of us, that's our, it's a tradition, it's our weekend. But maybe they should have done an hour or an hour and a half each day instead of doing 15 to 23-minute segments every 2 hours, because it just becomes, I don't know, it would be different if we weren't all socially distancing, if we had a party and we would just watch it together all day and talk between sets. That would work. But when you're at home and you just kind of get distracted, it doesn't really work to do it in these segments. Plus, I kind of expected it to be live for some reason, and it was not. It was clearly pre-recorded, which I understand because I was thinking about that. Would I have rather had it been live? And then I realized every single sort of, especially meeting we've had recently with a lot of people who are new to doing video meetings, every meeting starts with 10 minutes of you being like, hello, can you hear me? Is this thing on? And that would have been annoying to watch if every band got on, was trying to adjust and that's what would happen. So I let go that it was pre-recorded, even though I was a little bit bummed at first. But the sort of the timing of it was really weird, with doing such short segments throughout the day just made me kind of forget or get distracted by something else to come back to. So I didn't like that. And then, some of them had several camera angles, and some of them clearly used their phone to record it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Yeah, I just wish it was a little bit. I think the first one was really surprising to us all. It felt like a bad sexual experience where you thought, oh, we're just getting started. And they're like, oh, tune in again in 2 hours. And you're like, oh, that was it? I thought we were just doing the warm up. But no.
I agree completely. I went into the day too early, but the format was terrible. But then I was trying to, it's free. How much can I complain about something that's free? Well, I could complain all day apparently, but I guess the question is, what should your expectations be for something like this? It's a disappointment that we're not at the show like we wanted to be. It's disappointing that, the times that we're available to meet to watch this together was so early in the morning to watch the bands that we were interested in, and then they play for 3 minutes. It was just like disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. It was like terrible.
Yeah.
But then I don't feel like the bands were letting me down.
No.
I think everyone was trying to do something. I might not have liked what they were trying to do. Like, I don't really like the pre-recorded music video style for what happens to be going on. I was looking for more of like a unique experience.
Yeah.
So when the Bomb Pops played, it's just that I was looking for something different, and they were doing more of a traditional music video. They're trying to make the best music video they can given the circumstance, which should be something I appreciate. It's just under these circumstances, I was looking for something a little more raw and live and unique.
Yeah.
But that's not on them. That's the situation. So then, but day 2, knowing what happened on day 1, I did enjoy it significantly more than the first day. But it was still, they gave the bands more than 3 minutes the second day. It seemed like they gave them 10 minutes. So maybe they recognized that 3 minutes was too little.
I think it was already done by then, I would imagine. Yeah, and I watched some of and the sets are still available on YouTube. And it didn't really, watching them when they were first premiered live, in air quotes, it didn't really add much to it. Like, you can just as easily watch it now and get just as much out of it. And I like the sort of, some people shared stories and stuff, and that made it feel a little bit more interesting to me, because you don't get that in a live show as much.
Yeah.
People share stories, but you can't hear anyways, because the obviously the sound was optimized for the performance, not the speeches between songs. And so that part of it was really cool, to watch some stories about punk rock bowling, and made you feel nostalgic for it. Whereas the performances were like, they were good, and they were really good considering, these bands had to jump on, figure out how to use all this equipment, figure out how to record themselves, figure out how to, some of them, not play with their instruments or in their, ideal situations and things like that. But yeah, and I really am grateful that organizers did do something, because having this weekend without something would have been a total bummer.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad they did that, but I'm so ready for festivals to actually.
Oh, no doubt. For the second day, we watched Session 5.
Yeah.
And it was Global Threat, Riverboat Gamblers, La Machina, or I think that's how you pronounce it, and Svetlana's. So I thought one thing was cool is I wanted to watch Riverboat Gamblers, and that was the only reason why I wanted to watch that set. But I thought that La Machina was good. I like
Yeah.
them. I'm going to go check more out. And then Svetlana's, I'd heard of them like I had heard their music and I thought it was all right, but
Yeah.
I really liked the live, well, not the live perform. I liked their performance.
Yeah, they
I
were
liked it
good.
a lot. So I did feel like I got something out of it. I two bands, if they came to town, I would definitely go see them, whereas maybe I wouldn't have without it. Like Riverboat Gamblers is no brainer.
You already
Love them.
knew
I'm
that you
already,
liked them.
anytime they're
Yeah.
coming to town, I'm going to go check out Riverboat Gamblers. They're one of my favorite bands. But La Machina, I never even heard of them. And I thought, wow,
Nice.
this is something cool. I would now check them out. And Svetlana's, who I already knew and I thought were okay, I recognized their live show is where it's really at for them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Go Go Bordello, where I don't want to listen to Go Go Bordello CDs or music really. But when you go see them live, it's just
It's
such a
fun.
different thing. It's like a party.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down with that. So I thought, okay, that was cool. I complain about punk rock bowling sometimes because I'm like, oh, I've seen this band 1,000 times. Now I'm going to go see them again. And it's just the same thing over and over. And I'm always complaining, like, I want to see something new. And then it was cool to me under these terrible circumstances to find two new bands to get into, which addressed my concern of same old, that kind of stuff. So
That is true.
I thought it
Yeah.
was cool, and they those two bands did not social distance at all. They were just in like a garage playing together. Both of those bands were doing the same thing. So I thought,
Yeah.
well, this is interesting as well.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see how different bands took different approaches. I watched a couple more of the sessions. So there was even bands where I think Bad Cup, all of them were in one room except one of them was remote. But you don't know how people, where they live, and some people live together, and there's different guidelines for different
Yeah.
parts of the country anyways. And so on. So, and then I also saw the Last Gang. They played all in the same room, but they wore masks, and that was the only band that I've seen so far that did that. So it was kind of also interesting to see how different places, different people were taking precautions. But yeah, you're right. I did watch a couple more sessions, and there's definitely some bands where I was kind of eating breakfast and kind of semi-watching and being like, wait, who am I watching? Who is this again? I've never seen them. And it is kind of really nice to be exposed to bands that we might have missed because they were playing earlier. They were playing one of the club shows. You cannot go to all the club shows, of course, because they're at the same time.
It was similar to Riot Fest we talked about last podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't watch that one live. I went in afterward and was just going through videos. And you said it yourself on this one. You thought that worked for you probably better than watching it live at that particular moment because it was such a letdown.
Yeah.
But to be able to have everything is over, now you can go back and pick something and find something good is probably the best way to get something out of it other than killing time.
Yeah. And then another live stream I watched this week, Dropkick Murphys did a live from Fenway Park.
Okay.
And they played for, I think, like an hour or so.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so it was kind of the opposite of punk rock bowling because it was very well produced. They had a sponsor. There was a fundraiser. They all socially distanced, which made sense because they were playing on the field. So there's a lot of space in an empty stadium. And so they were following all the guidelines. I think they said only 30 people could be at the stadium.
Wow.
At a time, which is pretty crazy. And so then, they had all their sound people and the band and so on. So it was cool, but they did do a similar live stream on St. Patrick's Day, but this one was even kind of bigger. And of course the venue is bigger, bigger stage metaphorically and literally for them. But yeah, it was really cool because it was actually live, but it did start like 20 minutes late. And then they had about 20 minutes of history of Fenway Park and so on. So it was still not like going to a regular show or anything like that. But yeah, I thought they did a really good job. I'm glad they're, able to play live shows.
I was hoping that this, if there's anything technically that will come out of this, it would be sound engineers will learn a lot about live sound and Zoom sound and
Yeah.
improved mixing capabilities, and maybe this will make the audio experience for live events that you're not actually in the room better.
Mhm.
Because you go listen to live albums sometimes and they just sound terrible.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, well, there's really no excuse for that now that they're figuring out how to mix and manage in real time, making it sound good or at least sound decent. And sometimes it's even too good or fake. It just sounds fake sometimes. When I watch like late night TV, like Jimmy Fallon or something like that. They have bands play at the end of the night, and sometimes it's ridiculous, like the sound quality. It's obviously pre-recorded and that kind of stuff. So
Uh-huh.
that's a problem. But I don't know. I'm just trying to find something like, okay, live stuff. They're having an opportunity quite a bit more to find ways to make things sound good in real time over the internet. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Oh boy, Fat Mike fundraiser.
Yeah, so he apparently he signed up to do the AIDS life cycle, which is a ride that happens in California between San Francisco and LA. I think it ends in LA. And obviously that was canceled this year. And so then instead he is riding his bike in LA as a fundraiser and is listening to 545 songs instead of doing 545 miles.
I'm thinking that will save him some time, but that's
Yeah,
still that's still
it's
that's
still a
still
lot.
quite a ride.
Yeah, I think that's quite the ride. And
545 miles would have been LA to San Francisco.
that takes days. Yeah.
545 songs. Wow. I mean, the average song is what, 3 minutes? Maybe he'll
Not
get
punk
some.
songs, a
Well,
minute and a
maybe he'll
half,
cut
I
that
would
in.
say.
Maybe that's true. He's just probably looking for the shortest songs humanly possible. He'll listen to his short music for short people
There you go. That's like
exclusively.
101 songs right
I mean,
there.
yeah, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, and then I thought it was interesting. He also recently did a new vinyl club. Um, and I just started wondering, how is Fat Mike becoming the most productive member of society? Like, how is he? And I don't mean that compared to people who are actually, going to work right now and working essential jobs, but relatively speaking, compared to the rest of us who are also sheltering in place, how is he being so productive when so many of us are just not?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a loyal team. He must.
Yeah,
I
must.
think he's not doing it by himself. There's a lot of people out there
Fair.
making it happen, and it's he can make things happen.
Yeah.
Maybe other people would say, nah. He's more like, okay, or I have an idea and I'm going to make it happen. So
Yeah. And
that's
some of
cool.
these things, maybe they've probably been in the works for a while. They just, like they already had some no effects songs that they were going to release and they were decided to release them now. And so I think the only probably last minute decision was the bike ride, which he was already planning on doing and training for, I'm sure. So
Yeah, I think the record club is a good idea to keep people interested in stuff that you're going to put out.
mm-hmm.
As I just see it now, is like we're going to talk about new releases that came out, and I'll go check them out,
Mm-hmm.
stream it in and out, and it's done.
Yeah.
Whereas something like that, you're involved in a club, it'll keep you more engaged. You're going to check out everything that comes through it. You get something for it in a physical format. So it's just, I think that is kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
if you
And
have
then
if you have the ability to put out that kind of content. I mean, he says he has 101 songs that he made for that play he wrote.
yeah.
Uh, there would be no way for him to get all that stuff out without just dumping it on a streaming service. So the
Yeah.
club is a much better way to make that happen and make it where people will actually pay attention to it. because they're looking
Yeah.
pretty good.
And Fat already does, or NoFX does a record, I think a 7-inch club as well that has a new thing every month.
Yeah, I
So
think
that makes sense if that was working out for them before.
heck
And
yeah.
then new music this week or thereabouts, it's funny because it's all songs. I haven't
Yeah.
really found any new albums, and maybe I'm missing things just because, there's so much stuff going on in the news that I'm probably not seeing as much of music news, but it was funny
I
to
think that'll
me.
be
So,
the thing. It's just bands are going to do it kind of like they used to do in the 50s, is put out a single,
yeah,
put out another single, and then
yeah,
put out the album, rather than put out the album and we don't need the single. Like,
yeah,
we're going to put all of our promotion into the single, and then the album will come out later. It's like the advertisement for the album, a trailer,
yeah,
that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the way people are going to be doing it.
yeah. And so the first one is Lawrence Arms has a new song called PTA. I
PTA.
thought I liked it. It was energetic. I liked it more than some of their earlier stuff or
Yeah,
previous
Lawrence Arms
stuff.
kind of reminds me of, for me, Alkaline Trio, in the fact that they have
Yeah,
a range of songs as far as the aggression and like the punk factor.
yeah,
They have songs that are more emo-y, slower paced, mid-paced, more melodic, more singy, and then they also have more songs that start going into the punk, and then a little more hardcore and a little more gruff and a little faster, a little more intense. So
yeah.
Lawrence Arms, like Alkaline Trio, they have that wide range,
Mhm.
and this song was a harder song for Lawrence.
Yeah,
It
and it
was like
made
a
me
gruff
more
punk song,
interested.
and I liked that.
Me too.
And it was funny when we were DJs back in 10 years ago or whenever it was. Lawrence Arms, we would get their new albums, and the tracks that were the promoted tracks weren't usually these hard punk tracks. I never got into them other than later, when I'm just going through my old records and I'm like, oh, I only listened to that one song that I didn't really like. I'll give this band a more fair shake. I'll go check out some more songs. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it turns out I like Lawrence Arms. I
Yeah,
was just introduced to them in a way that made me think that they were an emo band, and I just wasn't that into it. I thought they were okay. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden I'm like, wait a second. They have like these really like fast, catchy punk songs that are aggressive, and they're more along the lines of what I was looking for. So I was like, okay. So yeah, I thought this song represents more of their harder edge,
yep.
and I like that. So that was good for me. If you're
Same.
more
And
into their emo stuff part, then you're probably not going to be as into it.
mhm. And then the next one is Bouncing Souls
Bouncing Souls.
have a song called World on Fire. And I actually was more disappointed with this one. I thought it was kind of slow and not as exciting as some of the other songs that I
Yeah,
really
I'm the
liked.
same for that. And what I consider, maybe this is just me, because as I age, I'm viewing things differently than I used to, but I feel like there is a new genre. I don't know if it's new. There is a genre of punk where I call old person punk, adult punk,
Oh,
middle-aged punk. There's just like punk for, I'm no longer just wanting to listen to the fastest, most aggressive stuff ever. I still like punk music though, but I just
yeah.
need it slowed down because my life has slowed down, and this song, it just goes into that. There's tons of bands that do it. The band that came to my mind was Menzingers.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, Bouncing Souls are going more towards this adult punk way, like the Menzingers, when the songs are, it's more about growing up, being an adult, living an adult life, but you're still, you're still a punk, but you're an adult punk. And I thought this song feeds into that. I'm an adult now. I'm in the Bouncing Souls. I'm fully grown. I'm no longer trying to write the summer boppy boppy bop song. It's
They just changed record labels. They have signed with Pure Noise. They're no longer on BYO. And they've announced that they are planning on touring next year with Anti Flag, Less Than Jake, Police, Satanic Surfers, No Fun at All, Jughead Revenge, and more. So that's exciting. I'm definitely not seeing a lot of touring, even hopes for this year
Oh
anymore.
yeah, it's like this year's done.
Done. Yeah, for pretty much almost every band that I'm aware of has officially. It's almost funny to me when things get announced as canceled now because it's like, duh. I see things sometimes still being posted of like, this festival is canceled or our tour is canceled, and I am thinking, oh, is there anybody who was waiting for this announcement? Because I'm kind of operating under the understanding that there's no more shows this year until I hear otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about there's no shows this year.
Yeah.
What happens when all the smaller clubs go out of business and all that's left are the bigger venues? All the good stuff comes from the smaller places and it just works its way up as it gains more popularity. But if you lose that bottom ground, if you lose like a Caravan that only has 75 people, every punk band in the scene has nowhere to play anymore because they're not going to just get to go straight to the 20,000 capacity place. Like if you're a small band, you have to play for a small amount of people. That's all the interest you can get. You're building on something. You take away the infrastructure, you have nothing. So I'm very concerned, not so much about these big bands. Big in the punk scene, they can survive. They can still find a place to play next year.
Yeah.
But a smaller band, like a local band, they got nothing.
Yeah.
And that's
and local venues,
problem. There's nowhere to play. I mean, it could
really
just completely destroy the scene, the underground completely, and then I don't know what's going to come of that. And I don't know. I don't know what the future holds there. I don't think it's good.
No.
I don't know.
Unless those venues are one of the first to open, which is also a possibility, but it's not looking like a given. It's a maybe.
I mean, trying to think of something good to say would be like, let's say those smaller places are allowed to play, they're allowed to open, and they're allowed to have a small amount of people. Then the local bands that really only have a small draw anyway could go play those places.
Yeah.
And they could get a Friday night slot that maybe they would have never have got.
Right, but touring bands still couldn't do it because they can't even begin to break even on playing nearly empty venues that are already clubs. So it's not like you're becoming a millionaire off of that either. So
So hopefully, like, using that, keeping the underground alive is theoretically possible if the smaller clubs are allowed to remain open and they can stay alive with a small amount of people.
They might have to become bars for the time being when bars reopen, which isn't, at least in California, isn't happening for a while either. But
or if like they keep California shut down but they open it up everywhere else, because that's kind of how it seems to be going. It's just the music scene in California will just leave and it will go elsewhere, and it'll just be California doesn't have that going on. We're into something different over here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another.
It's kind of already like that a little bit for rock music. I don't know what it's like for everything else. I don't pay attention, but I see bands, they skip the Bay Area on tour. I don't know what it is. A lot of bands, they don't care about San Francisco and San Jose. They'll go. It's more of like the butt rock type bands.
Another newer release is from Strike Anywhere. They have a Nightmares of the West EP, and there's 2 new songs, and it's their first music in over a decade. These guys have been gone for a while, and I thought they sounded exactly the same, which is a good thing. Like, I'm not complaining about that. I think that was probably, out of all these releases, my favorite this week. Totally sounds just like they never skipped a beat and were not gone for 10 years.
Absolutely. Strike Anywhere, I swear they could be one of my favorite bands. And I still like them a ton. Don't get me wrong. But there are so many lyrics per song, so many deep themes explored that I cannot relax and listen to Strike Anywhere. I mean, they're talking about like the global political structure and the need to change the world, and they're not just throwing out a catchphrase for that, which I can do a catchphrase. I like that. Give me something simple. But they're going off for paragraphs. I'm like, I cannot keep up with what this guy's saying. And he's got a really gruff voice, but I'm like, I love this music. This music is the best.
Yeah.
The lyrics, I am too simple-minded for me to be able to keep up with what you're talking about. These two songs, it's just like I am overwhelmed with everything that you're speaking. I'm just so I cannot get emotionally connected on every topic you're talking about, because it's just like the global economy, inequality for the entire planet Earth, the need to change. It's just like, I'm so tired. You're exhausting me.
It's a lot.
And I think of another band that is just like them, but they do it in more of my simple-minded way, and it's Rise Against.
Yeah.
Like Rise Against, they do the same thing, but they have pop songs, and it makes me so happy to just shut my brain off and listen to a Rise Against catchy song. But Strike Anywhere, they're not doing that. They're like, we're not throwing you a bone for your stupid pop brain. We are just going to hit you hardcore. The world has problems, and we're going to let you know about it for 14 songs straight. There's going to be thousands of words in our album, and you're going to have to figure it out. I criticize, but they're still awesome band.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah.
You go see them live, they'll blow my mind. They'll get me jumping up and down. I'll be going crazy.
The last new song or new release this week is from Hot Snakes. They have a new single called I Shall Be Free, which is also, it's been a couple of years since they had new music as well.
Yeah, they had Jericho Sirens a couple years ago. Isn't it an EP also, or is it a single?
It was just a single.
I mean, I love Hot Snakes, but this just wasn't the one for me.
Yeah, I guess to me it sounded like their songs that are not my favorite songs of theirs. It totally sounds like them. I wasn't like appalled that they've completely changed into something I don't like, but it wasn't their catchiest, or it's not my favorite song by them.
I think of it as a B-side to the song that I want to hear. I don't know. That singer's voice is so good. It's just like, I'm willing to listen to anything that guy sings. And they got the post-punk sound. I'm like, I'm totally into it. But
it reminds me of, I think years ago, you and I had an argument with one of our friends about Radiohead. And we were on we don't really like them that much side.
Yeah.
And several of our friends who are big fans of that band have told us, well, you have to work at it to get into it. Like, you have to continue listening to this album that you don't love yet until you love it. And you and I were both appalled, because I'm like, no, that's the kind of effort you put into other things. There's so many bands I like immediately that I'm not going to go out of my way to like. There's really no reason to force yourself into liking something that you don't like.
Yeah.
Unless for whatever reason, like maybe you have close personal connection to the band. Maybe it's your family or your partner or one of your friends, and you have to go support them. So I could see, that's the only reason I could see myself listening to an album over and over again, trying to get more into it.
I think since I had that opinion of Radiohead early on, that I never got into them in the first place, so I never had to work to like them.
Yeah.
Because I never it was, over my head, I'm not down with it. But you bring up a really good point about if it's a band you like, you're going to put in that effort. And then I think about Tool. I remember Tool, they put out Enema, which is like one of my favorite albums of all time. And I can't remember the name of the next one. Lateralus.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it pained me to get through that album. And I'm like, I'm missing something here, because how can this band put out my favorite album and then kill me? like this terrible album. And it's true. I listened to it enough times where I'm like, this album is great. It just, I had to work at it. It's so what they said is true. These people that were arguing with us, I now see what they're saying.
Yeah.
You put in that effort, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go out of my way unless you give me something really good up front.
That's not how you gain new fans, by having people work at this relationship they're having
Yes.
with your band and the new album. Like, no, nobody's going to do that unless they're already a huge fan. And I think that's all the music this week.
You got a grudge?
Ooh, my grudge. I think this whole year, this whole year is my grudge now. I don't want to pick it too early in the year, but it feels like the time has come. It's just been a really hard year for everybody, and it sucks. And not.
I don't have much to add there. I think that, yeah, that's true. This year sucks. I agree. This year sucks.
Do you have a grudge this week?
An easy one for me right now is presents under quarantine.
Okay.
I just don't like the idea. I don't want to deal with it. It's a tough one. You want to give your friend a present. You want to, be nice to your family members. You want to participate in birthday parties and celebrating people's lives and celebrating people's events. And you're trying to keep your personal life going and maintaining relationships and doing all the. It's freaking exhausting. Just thinking, this year I don't want to get you anything. I'll celebrate next year. I'll get you 2 gifts next year. I'll give you a gift 6 months from now if I'm allowed to leave my house and go to the store and buy something. I guess my real grudge is maintaining expectations that everything should be as close to normal as possible, like it used to be during the middle of a global pandemic. Well, we're going to wrap it on that good note.
Yeah. Email us your grudges. We want to hear. Email us, what are you listening to? Is there new music we haven't heard of yet? almostpunkpod@gmail.com.